everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Today I am going to discuss the same lesson water, in which I will discuss today the topic solutions. Now what is solution? Solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components whose composition may be gradually changing with the amount of the component which has been used there. And in the mixture chapter also, in the lower classes, we have learned that in the homogeneous mixture, sugar solution, salt solution, these are the examples of homogeneous mixture. So let us begin the definition. Solution. So let us see the definition of solution. It is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components whose composition may be gradually changed by changing the relative amounts of the components. Now in a solution, who are the components? Solution is made up of solute, the solid particles or the less amount of particles which has been dissolved in solvent, plus salt. Now here you will get two terms, solute and solvent, which makes the solution. Now what is solute here? The solute is the amount of substance, the substance that dissolves. Now how can we define solute? Solute is substance that dissolves in a solvent or a given medium to form a solution. And what is solvent? Solvent is the medium of this solution, means which will allow the substance to get dissolved in it, that allows one or more components to dissolve in it to form a solution. Okay, so let us take an example of it. For example, we are taking salt solution. You can take sugar solution also. So salt solution is a mixture, homogeneous mixture of salt and water. Now what is the salt here? Salt is the amount of solute or solid that has been dissolved in the given amount of water. And what is the water here? Water is the medium of dissolution which will allow the salt to get dissolved in it to form what? To form a solution. So salt solution can be a very good example of a homogeneous mixture to make a solution. The solution may be formed by various methods. Let us see what are the methods. Solution can be formed by mixing the several processes. But one condition you have to remember here, a solute, which can be a liquid, can be a solid, can be a gas, provided the solute amount will be always lesser than the solvent amount. Solvent amount will be more in amount or greater in amount compared to the solute. Solute will be always lesser in amount compared to solvent because it will be getting dissolved into the given amount of solvent. So let us see the first criteria. Criteria first is a liquid in another liquid. When a liquid is mixed in another liquid, let us take an example. A mixture of water and alcohol, or you can take a mixture of water and vinegar. Okay, so this is a very good example. Here water acts as a solvent, alcohol acts as a solute. Now solid with a liquid, we have given the example right now, salt and water, that is salt solution, or you can give sugar solution also, both are soluble. Now a liquid with a gas, you must have seen the soda water. What is soda water? When carbon dioxide is mixed into the water under high pressure. So what is carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is a gas. So we can give an example, soda water or any type of cold drink, carbon dioxide is mixed into the water. Now coming to the another category. Next one is the solid with another solid. This example you have done in the lower classes, formation of an alloy. Any alloy you can take, like brass, bronze, steel, then duralumin. All are what? They are all alloys. Alloy is a homogeneous mixture in which two or more metals or non-metals are mixed in a certain proportion in a molten condition to form an alloy. These two solids mutually mixing in the molten condition and forming an alloy, which is again a hard solid. In this way we can say this is an example of solid with another solid. So a solution can be formed by mixing these all four important categories. This solid mixing with another solid is also known as what? Solution. Since they are melting and getting solid solution. What is true solution? We can say this solution also as a true solution. Now true solution have some properties. Let us see the properties of the true solution. The first characteristic is what? They are homogeneous. Okay, we know solution is also homogeneous mixture. True solution is also homogeneous mixture. So we can say. Second point is very, very important. The solute particle size are very small. What is the size? About 10 to the power minus 10 meter. You can understand how small it is. They are very clear and transparent, and since they are so small, they cannot scatter. For scattering light, you need the particles to be visible or little bit bigger size, but in true solution, size are so small that it cannot scatter light. It cannot be separated by filtration because particles are not so big. Cannot be separated by filtration process. And we can also say, since they are so much soluble and so much almost invisible size, so they cannot be settled down in the bottom of the vessel. So solute particle do not settle. So students, from here we can come to know about the major characteristics of a true solution, which is also known as solution. They are homogeneous mixture. Solid particles are so small that it's measured about the power -10 meter, and it is very clear and transparent in nature, cannot scatter light, and cannot be separated by filtration process, and solute particle do not settle at the bottom, or you can write set. Okay, so in this way we understand that what are the main characteristics of a true solution, which is also can be said as a solution. Now we will know two new important terms in appearing way: aqueous and non-aqueous solvent, and dilute and concentrated solution. Aqueous solution, non-aqueous solution, dilute solution, and concentrated solution. Let us see with one example of each. What is aqueous? From the name only it is clear. Aquousness related to water. When we will take the solvent as water, and we know water is a universal solvent, so maximum of the substance get dissolved in water. So the solution produced by dissolving a substance in water, that means solution. And what is non-aqueous solution? Solution produced by dissolving a substance other than water, means which are not soluble in water. That means we have to take some example of this and this. Let us see in water which are the solution get solvent. Any example you can take, like salt get dissolves in water, so salt solution, sugar solution. Okay, now in non-aqueous solution means the solute will get dissolved, but it is not water. We are not using the solvent water. So what we are using? Any organic solvent we can use, any alcohol you can use, benzene we can use. These are also solvent but not water. Liquid ammonia we can use. So certain solute get dissolved in, like you know that example we can take tincture of iodine. Tincture of iodine you have learned in the lower class that uses of iodine. The tincture of iodine is the iodine get dissolved in alcohol. That means iodine get dissolved in alcohol. Okay, so it is a solution. So I can say tincture of iodine is an example of non-aqueous solution. Now coming to dilute solution. Dilute means where water proportion will be more. Percentage of water will be more compared to the mass of the solvent, whatever the mass has been given. Let us see the solution in which amount of solute is less. Amount of solute is less compared to the mass of the solvent. Mass of the solvent. So if you take you can take an example, 1 teaspoon sugar in 1 glass of water. Okay, or you can take 20% HCl. That is 20% HCl means 20% will be HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, in 80% of the rest 80% is the what? Water. So I can say it is a dilute solution of HCl. Now what will be the concentrated solution then? Concentrated solution will be the amount of solute will be relatively more compared to the mass of the solvent. So concentrated solution is solution in which the amount of the solute is relatively more for a given mass of a solvent. So we can take here the example 70% HCl, where rest 30% will be what? 30% will be water. So you can understand that the amount of the solute is more. Here solute is both are liquid, but it behaves as so it can be told as a concentrated solution. This is dilute solution, this is non-aqueous solution, and this is aqueous solution, in which you should remember at least one example with the definition. Now coming to the saturated and unsaturated solution. So let us define the saturated solutions. Saturated solution is a solution that cannot dissolve any more of the solute at a given temperature. Means at a particular temperature, if you start dissolving a solute in a given amount of solvent, a time will come when the no more solute will be added at a particular temperature to the given amount of solvent. Let us take an example. Niter, which is also known as potassium nitrate. Now this niter is highly soluble in water. We have taken water. Now and we kept the temperature, suppose normal temperature we are keeping, suppose 25 degrees centigrade. Now at a particular temperature we start dissolving we have taken a beaker in which we have taken a fixed amount of water. Suppose I have taken 100 grams of distilled water. Why we are taking distilled water? It is free of impurities and dissolved salts and gases. Okay. So we start dissolving. We have taken the salt here, niter we have taken. We start dissolving and start stirring it. Okay. Now what happened? If we keep on stirring, taking 1 gram, like this 1 gram each we are taking and start dissolving at a given temperature. What is the temperature? We are not changing the temperature. Okay. So we keep on dissolving 1 gram, then 2 gram, then 3 gram, like this. We keep on adding 1 gram to the given amount of water. The time will come that we will find after certain that it doesn't get dissolved and it remains undissolved and kept inside suppose we find that in the 100 gram of water, after 7 grams we find that the 8 gram when we are about to put them, we find that it remains undissolved and kept in the bottom of the beaker. That means what? 7 grams is the ultimatum, that is it is the optimum that it can take in a 100 gram of the distilled water at 25 degrees centigrade. That means it is a saturated solution of niter at 25 degrees centigrade. Okay. So I can say that means it cannot take any more of the solute at a given amount of solvent at a particular temperature to form what? It forms a saturated solution. Got it? Now, suppose it takes from this only, I am explaining the other two kinds of such solution also. Suppose 7 grams is the optimum it can take. If you give the 8th one, then it will become undissolved and it will be left behind in the bottom of the flask. But suppose it can take 7 gram at a given temperature in 100 grams of water. But if I add only 4 grams, then what will happen? At a given amount of water, at a given temperature, we are adding only 4 gram. But it can take 7 gram. But we are adding only 4 gram to it. That means the amount of solute is less than what is required for the given amount of solvent at a given temperature. That means what type of solution? That time it is forming when the amount of the solute is less. At that time it is known as unsaturated solution. And what is this amount? The 8th gram salt has been added and it is found that it is left undissolved at the bottom of that means what? Given temperature at a given amount of water, we find that it left unsaturated. That means this type of solution is what? Supersaturated solution. That means the given amount of solute is more than the required amount at a given amount of solvent at a particular temperature. So from this drawing, you come to know about the 3 types of solution: saturated, unsaturated and supersaturated. So let us write the definition now. Now let us see the definition one by one. Saturated solution is a solution that cannot dissolve any more of the solute at a given temperature. Temperature plays a very important role here, because if you change the temperature, the supersaturated solution can become unsaturated, can become saturated. We will see later. But here we have to say that at a given temperature we are doing this work. Now unsaturated is what? A solution in which more of the solute can be dissolved. I have told you that 7 grams it can take, but I have added only 4 grams to it at a given amount of solvent at a given temperature. Okay. Now what is supersaturated solution? Means we have added more than the saturated solution. Means it got saturated, but after that also we have added the solute which remains undissolved and kept inside the bottle in the bottom of the vessel. So the solution which contain more solute than its saturated solution at a given temperature. Clear, students? Now we will see that effect of cooling a saturated solution. Now we will change the temperature to see how they are. These three types of solution are interchanging by changing the temperature, how it is behaving. Effect of cooling a saturated solution. Now we find that the given solution is already saturated. Okay, now we start cooling the temperature. That means we are just taking that example only, that in 100 grams of water, distilled water, it is taking 7 grams of niter to make a saturated solution at 25 degrees centigrade. Now I will start cooling we will decrease the temperature now. What will happen now if we start decreasing the temperature? The solubility of the solid, that is the solid is the niter, will decrease, usually decrease with the fall of temperature. That means if the temperature starts falling down, we will find that the solubility also get decreased. That means how much it has been soluble to make the 7 gram, now you will find that 1 or 2 grams remains undissolved and form as a crystals in the lower part. Now let's see, if the temperature of the saturated solution is lowered, or if a solution is left open for a higher temperature for a long time, then what will happen? The solvent slowly vaporize and a part of the dissolved solute separates out in the form of crystal. Then what will happen? They will come out as a crystal, part of it, because I have decreased the temperature, so the extra solute will be coming out in the form of crystal, because niter is a crystallized salt. The opposite will take place when we will increase the temperature. Suppose from 25 I am increasing to 45 degrees centigrade. When I will increase the temperature, a saturated solution is heated to high temperature, it becomes unsaturated. That means if we increase the temperature, it will be now able to take more of the solute to it. That's why we will see that if we start adding more 1 gram, 2 gram, then 3 gram, you will see now it get dissolved in it at a higher temperature in the same amount of liquid or the same amount of solvent. Now more solute can be dissolved, more solute, I am adding more and more solute, niter can be dissolved in this solution now. Why it is getting dissolved now? Because I have changed the temperature. So temperature plays a very important role in making a saturated to unsaturated, saturated to supersaturated, or supersaturated to unsaturated. We can easily change the types of solution by increasing or decreasing the temperature. In this way what happens? Saturated solution we can make it as a unsaturated solution, okay, without affecting our solvent, and this only by increasing the temperature we can bring the change in its effect. Okay, next is the supersaturated solution. I have told you supersaturated solution is what? That it is having more of the solute which remains as a undissolved at the bottom at a given amount of solvent at a particular temperature. Now if we heat a supersaturated solution and it will start dissolving more and more. I have told you that when we increase the temperature of the saturated solution, it start dissolving more and more. Now slowly we will start cool down that solution. When it added so many 3 grams more, suppose 7 grams is there, now it has, after heating, it's increasing the temperature, we find that 10 grams of the niter has been added in the given amount of solvent. After increasing the temperature, we stop the heating and now slowly it is getting cooled down. Then when the temperature will fall down, then what will happen? Whatever the extra 3 grams have been added over there, now on cooling temperature is falling down. As the temperature will fall down, when it will reach here, it will give all the extra 3 grams will be coming out as a form of crystals. They will be, again it will turn out to undissolve and come out as a crystal salts. So in this way, the resultant solution holds more of the solute in a saturated solution. This is what? The resultant is the saturated solution is holding more and more here by increasing the temperature. Now a supersaturated solution is in this way students, you have come to know that slight increase or decrease of the temperature makes these three types of solution. We can easily interchange their forms from one form to another. Now we will come to the next topic, that is solubility. What is solubility? Solubility, you have to remember few terms here which will be joining and making a definition for it. Now what is solubility? Solubility, here we will see that the amount of solvent is fixed in 100 grams of solvent. Obviously the solute also we will take in the same unit only. Then the amount of solute in 100 grams of solvent to form what type of solution? Saturated solution at a particular or given temperature. So let us take an example of it. Let us compare with the certain temperature we have taken, that is 40 degree centigrade. We find we have taken two example, NaCl, that is sodium chloride, and we are taking two soluble salts. We are taking potassium nitrate, which is also known as nitrate. So we find that sodium chloride and potassium nitrate, and what is the amount of solvent? It is fixed. Amount of solvent is fixed, 100 grams of solvent. It is fixed for both. Now what will be the dissolving power of both? It will be not same because both compounds are different from each other. So at a particular temperature in 100 grams of solvent, we find that NaCl can be dissolved 36.5 gram, and on the other hand potassium nitrate can be dissolved 63 grams. So from this we can easily find out that at a particular temperature the two salts behave totally different from each other. One is less soluble when another is highly soluble. On the basis of this, three categories of solubility we find here. That is, one is insoluble, the substance which is negligible soluble. Substance having negligible solubility. Okay, example, you can take any example. Silver chloride. It is very insoluble. We find it as precipitate, it comes out. Okay, how much its solubility has been found out? You just see that. So you can understand from here how much 0.00015 grams of silver chloride gets soluble in it. That means it is almost insoluble. Okay, and sparingly remains little bit higher than the negligible. Means substance that has more than negligible but less than soluble. Means it comes in the between of this. Okay, more than negligible but less than soluble. Example, we can take sparingly soluble calcium hydroxide is a very good example of this. Okay, so what is the how much gram it can take? If you can remember, then okay, no problem. 0.17, that is 0.17 gram we can dissolve in 100 grams of solvent. You can understand that it is more than negligible, it is not insoluble but sparingly. Now coming to soluble, that we have already told that highly soluble, we are telling a substance that is high solubility, substance having high solubility. High solubility is known as soluble. We can easily take those example, NaCl, KNO3, they are simply soluble in the water. So they are also known as soluble. So insoluble is almost negligible. Sparingly soluble, more than negligible but less than soluble, and soluble is which is highly soluble in the given amount of solvent, that is 100 grams of solvent, form a saturated solution. Now let us see factors affecting solubility. What are the various factors on which the solubility, rate of solubility will depends? Students, we have seen just now only the first factor will always comes in our mind, that is the temperature, because we have seen that if we slightly increase or decrease the temperature, it affects the solubility. Now how it is getting solubility? The solubility of a gas in a liquid always decreases with the rise in temperature. Please remember about the gas in a liquid. That means when carbon dioxide is dissolving in water, then what will happen? The solubility of the gas in a liquid is decreasing with the rise in temperature. That means when we boil the water for 20 to 30 minutes, we find that it becomes tasteless. Yes or no? Because the dissolved gases get vaporized. That means what we are increasing? We are increasing the temperature. In this way, the distilled water is the very good example of that. When gases get dissolved in liquid, it is inversely proportional with the rise of temperature. That means if you increase the temperature, the solubility will decrease. So gas in liquid, it is inversely proportional. That means If you increase the temperature, the solubility will decrease. With increase, this is about the gas and liquid. Most of the solid are dissolving in water because water is the universal solvent. We find that most of the solid usually increase with the rise in temperature. We have seen in the nitre solution, when we are increasing the temperature, the solubility increases. So solubility of the solid in water increase with the temperature. It is directly clear. So in the temperature we find two criteria, gases and liquid, which is inversely proportional, and we find that it is directly proportional. Means if you increase the temperature, more the solid will get dissolved in the given amount of liquid or solvent. Okay. Now coming to the next factor after temperature, that is the stirring. Stirring is what? Stirring means it brings the solvent in contact with the solute, and stirring helps to quicken the solubility. If you stir the sugar and water, then the solubility will be more quicker. So it is also directly proportional. So stirring increases the rate of formation of solution. So if you stir, more of the solvent comes in the contact with the solute. In this way, what happened? The solute, it comes in then increases the rate of the solubility. So stirring helps to quicken the solubility. So you can say directly it is related. More the stirring you will do, more the quickly the solute will come in contact with the solvent. As a result, it brings the solubility more quick. Next is the size of the particle. Students, if anyone gives sugar cube in a glass of water, and in another glass of water, if anyone gives sugar dust, then which will get, or sugar granules, then which will get dissolved more quickly? Obviously the sugar granules, because sugar granules particle size is very small, so it will get dissolved very quickly compared to the bigger size of a sugar cube. So lesser the size, more the solubility. That means it is also inversely. Lesser the size of the particles, more quickly the solubility will take place. Let us take one example of this. At 20 degrees centigrade, we find that KNO3, that is potassium nitrate, can dissolve 31.6 grams. But as soon as we increase the temperature, that is, we increase the temperature to 60 degrees, that means 3 times. At 60 degrees centigrade, we find the solubility increases to 108 grams. That means what? The more the temperature, more will be the solubility. So you can take one example of this also to show the variation. Let us see the next. Now solubility curve. Solubility curve is a line graph. So what is this line graph? That plots and shows us the change in solubility of the different solutes in a solvent against changing temperature. Means we will plot a graph against solubility and temperature. So here it will be solubility, here will be temperature. So you mark it 20, 40, 60, 80, okay, like this. In your book also you will get it from the page 40 you will see in your book. It is there. So try to remember few of the solid which is getting dissolved in different rate. We will see here that sodium nitrate, potassium bromide, all increases in their solubility with the rise in temperature. Some of the solute you will find that with the rise of temperature they directly. So you will find that some of the solute, their solubility is directly proportional with the temperature. So you increase the temperature, the solubility also increases. Some examples are there: sodium nitrate, potassium bromide, they are directly proportional. But some solute are there that, like sodium chloride, increases only a little with the rise of temperature. Increases only a little. Suppose it is starting from here, so sodium chloride, it will increase slightly, like this, it will increase. Then a very slight increase it is showing, that NaCl is showing very slight increase with the rise of temperature. And again few of the solid you will get like calcium sulfate, hydrated calcium sulfate, it is crystal, okay, which show there is a decrease after attaining a certain temperature. Now you see calcium sulfate after attaining the certain temperature, that means 20, 30 it is okay, slightly getting. After that it comes down, it decreases. Okay, then it is the peculiar behavior of calcium sulfate crystals. Okay, and few of the example I have told you, potassium nitrate like this. Potassium nitrate, you will see it increases with the rise of the temperature. Like this, it increases with the rise of temperature. So potassium nitrate, then I have told you sodium nitrate, these all are directly proportional. In this way, we come to know of the certain behavior of salts and we have plotted against the graph. Now we will see here anomalous solubility of one salt which is known as global salt, that is crystals of sodium sulfate. Why sodium sulfate comes as an example of anomalous solubility? Anomalous means peculiar solubility they will show. Now let us see why this salt, some salts first increase and then decrease with the rise of temperature. That's why they are typical in nature. First they will increase to certain degree and after reaching that certain temperature they will start falling. Okay, the solubility start decreasing. So let us see the example, that is sodium sulfate crystals, Na2SO4.10H2. It behaves as an anomalous solubility. Why it is anomalous solubility? The temperature at which it start falling down is the temperature 32.8 degrees centigrade. You have to remember this temperature, that before 32.8 degrees centigrade it remains in a hydrous form. Hydrous form means it contains the water molecules still there. As soon as it reached 32.8 degree, after that it behaves oppositely, it comes down, it becomes what? Anhydrous. Okay, so this typical temperature plays an important role here. So let us see with the help of a graph that it is solubility and it is temperature. Okay, then what happened after certain, when it reaches 32.8, then what happened? It comes down. Okay, so this temperature is the 32.8 degree centigrade. Okay, now what is this? It remains in a hydrous form, Na2SO4.10H2O till 32.8 degree. As soon as it reaches there and comes down, it becomes only Na2SO4. Means it becomes anhydrous. So this temperature plays an important role. That's why it comes under the category of anomalous solubility. Okay, so please remember this one, which behaves as a typical type. Now we will come effect of pressure and temperature on solubility of gases in water. What is the effect of pressure and temperature on solubility of gases in water? Water is a liquid solvent. So first we will see how it behaves with the rise of pressure. So an increase in pressure on the surface of the water increases the solubility of the gas in water. We have seen in the soda water, I have told you that on increasing in at high pressure, the carbon dioxide get dissolved in soda water and makes the soda water. That's why increase in pressure will increase the solubility on the surface of the water directly. Increase of pressure increases the solubility of gases in surface of water or liquid, whatever you use. And example is what I have told you just now, soda water. Okay. Now from here one law has been deduced. A scientist has deduced a law. What is the law? Henry's law. What he says, that at a given temperature the mass of the gas dissolves. Now Henry's law states that at a given temperature the mass of the gas dissolved by a fixed volume of a liquid, means how much mass of the gas will be dissolved by a fixed volume of a liquid, is directly proportional to the pressure on the surface of the liquid. That means how much pressure will be given on the surface of the liquid at a fixed temperature, the mass of the gas is directly proportional it will be directly. That means the more the pressure will be, the more the gas will be getting dissolved on the surface of the liquid. Pressure and temperature both cannot be variable. One will be fixed. Okay, at a given temperature. Okay, now we are coming to the temperature. I have told that with the temperature what? The solubility of the gas decreases with the increase of temperature. I have already told in the factors of solubility. The same thing we will follow here also. In case of gas, the temperature is indirectly proportional to the solubility of the gas. So increase in temperature will decrease in solubility of the gas in liquid. After boiling the plain water for 30 minutes, we find that it changes to distilled water. Why it changes and the water become tasteless? Because the dissolved gases present in them, with the increase of temperature, they get evaporated, and that's why the water become tasteless. Similarly, opposite will take place with the decrease in temperature. If you decrease the temperature, more the solubility of the gas in the liquid will be more. So it is vice versa. That's why we find that the decrease in temperature increases the solubility. That's why chilled soft drink bottles, when we open them, we find less fizz. Fizz sound is less compared to the normal temperature. Okay. In the next class, I will discuss about the crystals and hydrated salts. Okay, students. So keep learning and be healthy. Have a good day. Thank you.